cough syrup, and conquer. Unlocking the Secret Life Lessons Hidden in Drowsy Hallucinations by Zaliel S. Morpheus.
Copyright at Zaliel S. Morpheus. All rights reserved. No part of this publication may be reproduced, stored, or transmitted by any form or means, electronic, mechanical, photocopying, recording, scanning, or otherwise without written permission from the author. It is illegal to copy this book, post it to a website, or distribute it by any means without permission. This book is entire a work of fiction. The names, characters, and incidents portrayed in it are the work of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, events or localities is entirely coincidental. First edition 2024. Published by bookbyanyone.com. Note from author, this book is not written by me, it is AI generated. Chapter 5. Symphony of Silence. The Art of Embracing Silence. The sweet symphony of silence, an elusive melody that rarely graces our frenetic lives. In a world where noise reigns supreme, whether it be a cacophonous blaring of car horns or the incessant buzzing of smartphones that seemingly require more attention than my invisible friends, finding peace without the backdrop of audible chaos can feel like uncovering a hidden treasure in the mountains. But let me tell you, my dear readers, silence isn't just golden, it's more like the amusingly glittery substance that might just distract you while you wallow in your solitude-induced existential crisis. Silence can be quite the character. On one hand, it envelopes you like a cozy flannel blanket on a chilly night, whispering sweet nothings about self-reflection and clarity. But on the other hand, it can also feel like the awkward pause in a conversation when you realize you've just mispronounced your own name. Picture this, you're alone in the mountains, the wind is rustling through the trees, and just when you finally dare to bask in the tranquility, you hear a faint rustle that your brain insists is either a bear or an invisible friend plotting a coup. It transforms into an inner monologue that goes something like this: should I be terrified? Should I befriend it? Should I just yell it like a seasoned mountaineer? Don't worry, the invisible friends are adept at avoiding confrontation. As I attempted to embrace the silence during one of my solo trips to the mountains, I quickly discovered that it's a trained skill, much like juggling flaming torches or convincing your cat to stay off the keyboard while you type. Instead of luxuriating in the quiet, I was busy plotting my next move to spot imaginary wildlife through the corner of my eye. Look, a unicorn! I would announce, to the bemusement of my invisible entourage. Silence, it turns out, took a while to get used to, like a pair of new hiking boots that chafed long before they became comfortable. Now, let's talk about the unrest in silence. You may be thinking, Zaliel, how can silence be anything but serene? Silence can be downright sinister. Have you ever sat in silence with your thoughts, only to discover that they can evolve into the weirdest forms of self-criticism? Oh, look, a tree! I bet it's taller than your achievements. That tree doesn't need to know your life story. So, there I was, meditating on the many wonders of nothingness while simultaneously jesting with shame. The imaginary opponent was a match of solitude. This is why developing an affinity for silence requires precision and stamina, much like training for a marathon, except this time the finish line is marked with the sign that says, "Congratulations! You survived your inner chaos." Interestingly, embracing silence brings out unfiltered thoughts, the kind that would make your therapist break out into hysterical laughter if you mentioned them. There's a certain charm to nothing the absurdity of your whims when it's just you, the mountains, and the echoes of whatever might or might not inhabit your inner world. I would often find myself conversing with my imaginary friends about serious issues, leading to debates about the merit of daylight savings time or whether pineapple belongs on pizza, all crucial existential dilemmas, mind you. Eventually, I stumbled upon the realization that silence can be cultivated like a delicate garden. At first, it may seem barren and lifeless, but through nurturing and care, it blossoms into an orchard of serenity, albeit with rogue wildlife trying to munch on the fruits. Like learning to balance on a tightrope, the art of embracing silence is all about practice. You might momentarily lose your grip and plummet into hilariously chaotic thoughts, but fear not, it's all part of the dance we call life, or should I say the awkward shuffle. So my friends, if you find yourself in the make-believe realm of the mountains or in a quiet corner of your living room, take a moment to appreciate the enigma of silence. It may not always be the comforting embrace you envision, but amidst the chuckles of your scattered thoughts and the absurdities of invisible confrontations, you just might learn to appreciate this absurd and precious gift. Because in the end, isn't it in the silence that we find some of the loudest truths, even if they are all dressed up in silly mismatched socks? The unexpected benefits of solitude. Solitude, the sweet, misunderstood companion to those of us who dare to dive headfirst into the murky waters of our own minds. When one envisions solitude, it's easy to get lost in the clichés and sad violin music, the dramatic sunset, or the forlorn-looking figure gazing out over a cliff into the void. However, I'm here to tell you that solitude is a veritable buffet of unexpected benefits. Picture it more as an all-you-can-eat feast for the soul. With all the fixings, served with a side of existential crisis and a dash of irony. First on the menu of benefits is clarity. Oh yes, that shimmering crystal ball of understanding that seems to perpetually fogged up in the bustling circus of life. Nothing clarifies like a dose of solitude. When you cast aside the distractions of social obligations, friends asking you to hang out, family wondering why you haven't provided great-grandchildren by now, or those pesky co-workers who can't take a hint, you begin to unearth your deepest thoughts. I remember sitting alone in the mountains with nothing but my thoughts and a particularly judgmental squirrel. Suddenly, it dawned on me my quest for a meaningful existence was perhaps more about finding the best couch for afternoon napping than discovering the meaning of life. It was the clarity I never knew I needed, but there it sat, nonchalantly sipping its cup of tea, periodically glancing over its glasses. Next up is creativity, a delightful surprise like finding an extra chicken nugget at the bottom of the bag. Ever found yourself scribbling down ideas that make so little sense that even they are perplexed by their own existence? Solo moments can spark unfathomable new avenues of thought. I once crafted an entire poem about the philosophical implications of talking kitchen appliances. Incredibly deep topics, right? But hey, when you're alone with your thoughts, the opportunity to brainstorm wacky ideas and solutions emerges like a jack-in-the-box at a kid's birthday party, unexpected and absolutely delightful. Reveling in solitude invites creativity to dance wildly without the constraints of judgment. Sure, most of my creations might have arrived through fits and giggles amidst disorientation, but they are mine. And let's not forget the monumental boost of self-discovery. Picture me standing on a mountain peak, the wind tussling with my hair as I pondered my passions. All the layers of societal expectations slowly peeled away, leaving me stark naked to my true self. What did I discover about myself during these moments of solitude? Well, for starters, I realized I have an irrational fondness for abstract art made from old cough syrup bottles. It's unique sort of expression that truly embodies the do what you love mantra. Who knew? The absurdity in the self-discovery has its perks, especially when it leads to one-of-a-kind art. Then here comes the inevitable reality check. Building resilience is another surprising gift from solitude. As we trot down the lonely road, we may stumble and fall, much like the unfortunate goat I saw on my hike that bravely headbutted a rock. Each tumble teaches us resilience. I can attest to this, as I spent a solid hour grappling with the friction between my love for chocolate and my overwhelming inexplicable phobia of commitment to finishing an entire chocolate bar. Alone I discovered that you can indeed leave half of it for tomorrow. Solitude is also a master class in embracing your weirdness. In a monologue with your inner self, you may find yourself spouting off perplexities that no human would ever utter aloud. What if cats are just tiny lions in hiding? Needing to contemplate such grand questions is part of owning your unique perspective. I've had my fair share of zany conversations with invisible beings that follow me around like loyal puppies. Together we laugh, ponder, and lament, but we do it all in the name of quiet company of our shared eccentricities. Finally, let's talk about self-care, the cherry on top of this solitude Sunday. Disconnecting from the clamor of social obligations allows you to prioritize self-love. Whether it's reveling in an entire day of Netflix, practicing self-taught yoga in questionable poses, or simply luxuriating in a bubble bath with delusions of grandeur, solitude provides the fertile ground for nurturing yourself. Indulging in the quirky habits that bring joy reminds you that amidst the challenges of life, you're your own best friend. So there you have it, the unexpected benefits of solitude. The clarity it provides is like a guide through a foggy road, creativity that springs forth with the delight of an unexpected dessert, and a profound self-discovery that unfolds like a poorly organized map. So, the next time you're faced with the prospect of being alone, don't shy away, embrace the whimsical buffet that solitude offers, and revel in the deliciousness of quirks, existential musings, and the profound beauty of your own delightful insanity. Mindfulness in the mountains. When one thinks of mountain climbing, images of lean athletes scaling perilous cliffs or perhaps a grizzly bear giving them the side eye usually come to mind. But for me, the true adventure lies not just in conquering the peaks but immersing myself in a state of mindfulness amidst the serene chaos of the mountains. You see, mountains are like those quirky friends who make you question your life choices, and in their lofty embrace, I've cultivated what could modestly be referred to as my own rather entertaining brand of mindfulness. As I ascended a particularly steep trail one fine morning, the first step in my mindfulness journey was realizing that I am not, in fact, a mountain goat. Flailing about like an overzealous giraffe attempting to do yoga, I endeavored to connect with nature on the way up, but I couldn't help but notice that the mountain seemed to be judging my every move. With each huff and puff, I became acutely aware of the sound of my breath, much like a wheezing of a gasping fish out of water, and there it was, the call of mindfulness, gently whispering in my ear, breathe in, breathe out, and perhaps reconsider that last donut you devoured last night. As I continued my quest for equilibrium, I discovered the joyful art of being present in the moment. Let me tell you, this required some serious mental gymnastics. Often I found myself mentally rewriting the self-help book I had never intended to write, filled with titles like The 5 Essential Steps to Overthinking Your Existence. During a particularly picturesque moment, I halted in my tracks, captivated by a butterfly dancing aimlessly amidst the wild flowers. In such moments, I realized that acknowledging the seemingly insignificant details around us can illuminate the art of mindfulness like the sun warming a grizzly bear in a hammock. Thoughts drifted in and out like clouds swirling above, allowing me to play a game of acceptance with whichever wild imaginings or anxieties had stowed away for the ride. One moment, I was doing a martial arts duet with the notions that I should have brought a snack, the next I was debating whether squirrels could be considered motivational speakers with their incessant chattering. In this mountain sanctuary, my mindfulness practice morphed into a hilarious blend of self-compassion and absurdity, embracing the fact that some days are simply meant for squirrel-related debates. And then came the moment of epiphany, or maybe it was just a moment where I tripped on a rock and landed on a patch of surprisingly soft moss and realized that mindfulness isn't just about the destination but the comedy of the journey itself. Who would have thought that one can become intimately acquainted with the nuances of their internal dialogue while also managing to flirt with the ground? There's something utterly liberating about losing your balance, rocking your way down a slope, and feeling an overwhelming sense of belonging in the wackiness. Furthermore, the sheer vastness of nature offers a rich tapestry for cultivating gratitude. The mountains carry an air of wisdom, their peaks and valleys reminding me of the ebbs and flows of life. Amidst my numerous encounters with wildlife, I internalized the heartfelt gratitude I had for all the bizarre moments that brought me to that point. When I paused to appreciate a grand view, I felt a tingle of cosmic connection. If the mountains could teach me anything, it was to be thankful for the ridiculousness of existence. As I settled upon a scenic overlook, soaking in the expansive horizon, I mentally etched this revelation in stone: mindfulness doesn't require a meditative pose or a paragon of tranquility. It can be found in the tiniest revelations during the climb, like the peculiar yet delightful shapes of clouds, or in the silly thought that I could become the world's foremost expert of catching chocolate wrappers in the wind. Life's absurdities, surrounding me in that mountain sanctuary, became a source of genuine laughter and playful contemplation. In short, mindfulness in the mountains has taught me to embrace the wondrous dance of life, awkward tumbles amid a kaleidoscope of colors, all questioning the absurdity of human beings. Yes, there is serenity to be found, but there is also humor to be had in simply being a whimsical traveler on this vivid path of peculiarities. So my friends, if you ever find yourself in the mountains, might I suggest taking a moment to pause? Put away your doubts and immerse yourself in the delightful messiness of nature, and maybe confront that judgmental squirrel you encounter along the way. Who knows? You might just discover the secret art of mindfulness that you've unknowing missed all along. The soundtrack of nothingness. The sublime concept of silence, or what I like to fondly refer to as the soundtrack of nothingness. Now this isn't just some ambient noise you might find on a meditation app, no, it's much less complicated and far more chaotic, a disorganized playlist of whispers, rustles, and the occasional existential dread making a cameo appearance. Imagine wandering through the mountains and being serenaded by the rich sonata of stillness, punctuated by the occasional rustle of a squirrel who has seen too much. As I meandered along the tranquil trail, I found myself listening intently to the cacophony of nothingness. The impressive silence felt like a welcoming embrace accompanied by the gentle patter of leaves in the wind. At first, I thought this would be a tranquil experience, akin to one of those soothing albums you buy alongside bath bombs in questionable retail outlets, but much to my surprise, it became a riveting mix of unexpected sounds, the delicate chirping of crickets harmonizing with the distant call of an unbothered crow. I found myself mentally comparing this to an old-timey radio station that had just discovered jazz. Then there came moments where nature's silent film took a humorous twist. Think of it, you're in the mountains and your mind is buzzing with the sounds of nothingness, then without warning you hear what can only be described as an enthusiastic banter between two chipmunks, or worse yet, a debate on the merits of nut hoarding strategies. And there I was, an innocent bystander, wondering about the chipmunks' approach to savings accounts. I chuckled at the absurdity of contemplating rodent economics in the face of such majestic beauty. Truly, the soundtrack of nothingness had become a comical symphony of whimsical thoughts and curious musings. Now, let's discuss how this fantastic soundtrack can sometimes be a little misleading. For instance, there I stood, ears perked up, the anticipation of nature's finest sonnets. But then the infamous ambience of nothingness occasionally turned into moments of sheer awkwardness, like the time I accidentally startled a deer that abruptly eloped into the underbrush as if I was a concert pianist who had hit a rogue note. No encore for me, it seemed. The forest fell into a sudden hush. The surreal experience of immersing myself in this soundtrack of pure quietness made me acutely aware of how easy it was to tune into creative inspiration. Picture this, I would find myself daydreaming about what the forest would sound like if it could share its playlist with the world. Would it feature a catchy dance track by the dancing of leaves? Or perhaps a haunting ballad by the forlorn fallen branches? Each rustle became like a musical note in this undefined composition of nature. And so I began an imaginary discussion with nature itself about what genre it aligns with. Turns out it leans heavily toward indie folk with a side of meteorological commentary. As I huddled into my doing nothing moment, I marveled at how this soundtrack served as my loyal accomplice in self-reflection. I ventured deep within my thoughts, welcoming them like old friends at a reunion that had no appetizers but plenty of absurd stories. Aha! I exclaimed to a particularly playful thinking cap, I should ve taken that job offer from the walrus who wanted to start a pool cleaning business. It was liberating, yet utterly ridiculous, a reminder that the soundtrack of nothingness opens the floodgates to my imagination and reflection. Perhaps the most profound aspect of this hilarious auditory experience came during the moments of pure solitude. As the mountains towered above me and the gentle silence draped me like a soft blanket, I relished in the peace of just being. All the worries of my snack-laden lifestyle and existential musings faded into the background, and in their place stood a weird but warm acceptance of the life I am living, like a cozy pair of mismatched socks. The soundtrack of nothingness serenaded me with affirmations of my quirks, reminding me that life is absurd, and that in the grand scheme of things, laughter gives the silence a much-needed melody. So dear readers, the next time you find yourself seeking solace in the mountains or anywhere far removed from the hustle of life, tune into the extraordinary soundtrack of nothingness. Embrace the delightful chaos, ponder about the chipmunk financial solutions, and hum along to the rhythm of your thoughts. You might just discover the spark of creativity igniting amidst the laughing forest, as you realize that sound and even silence comes with its own brand of hilarity, because let's be honest, if you can't find humor in the extraordinary silence of the mountains, then what on earth are we even doing here? The transformative power of reflection. Not the kind you see in the mirror when you grimace at your morning hair or think for a moment that perhaps pajamas count as business casual. No, I'm talking about the transformative power of introspective reflection, the potentially life-altering endeavor of gazing deeply into our own souls. This journey of self-reflection can lead to revelations so profound you might startle your nearby cabin of squirrels while proclaiming your newfound understanding of the universe. Let's take a walk through the mountains after making sure your snacks are well packaged and completely intimidating to a passerby deer. It starts with those quiet moments of solitude in the wilderness, where one can sit amid the grandeur of nature and allow the mind to wander. I once settled on a lovely boulder, and as I contemplated life, I realized my brain was a bit like a messy attic, filled with boxes that haven't been touched in years, a jumble of memories, ideas, and half-eaten cupcakes. In the initial stages of reflection, we often rummage through our mental attic seeking purpose and clarity. However, it doesn't take long for the simpler, sillier things to rise to the surface. Why do I feel like I've misplaced my life goals, much like I misplaced my gloves last winter? I mused, realizing the ultimate truth that I had also been hoarding far too many leftover snack wrappers. It was during one of those philosophical lightbulb moments that I understood how reflection could reclaim space in my life, clearing room for authenticity and of course better snacking practices. Let's face it, sometimes our reflections can take a turn towards the absurd. My nighttime reveries often included philosophical inquiries that would cause even Socrates to throw up his hands in surrender. What was I thinking when I tried to train a llama to fetch my slippers? Or how did I mistake a hike with friends as a soul-searching expedition when nobody else was even paying attention? The blunders of our lives provide the perfect fodder for humorous self-discovery, illuminating the path from self-critique to self-acceptance. It's all part of the psychedelic roller coaster ride minus the safety harness. Here's where the magic happens, in realizing that reflection leads us to better understand not just our triumphs but our mistakes, we unlock the keys to transformation. Through honest self-reflection, I uncovered a path that didn't just revolve around the next big thing, like starting a company that sells air fresheners from despair, but allowed me to embrace what made life truly lovely, the simple joys like savoring a perfectly grilled cheese sandwich or indulging in delightful conversations with invisible friends. Moreover, this process of reflection naturally encourages us to toss away the mental blame game that we often play. No longer were my millstones and mishaps merely a series of successes and failures, they swirled together like the colors of a really badly shaken snow globe, or perhaps like my attempt at making a rainbow smoothie that came out looking more like a sad swamp. Just as those blends can appear chaotic, our experiences meld into a rich tapestry of growth, leading us to realize that even the errant blends of failure can culminate in something uniquely beautiful. It transforms us from "I wish I hadn't done that" into "well, that was an experience, wasn't it?" And let's not forget the most transformative power of reflection, it helps us to establish gratitude. When I finally embraced all my experiences, both the silly and serious, I gained a newfound appreciation for everything life had offered me, however absurdly packaged. I could give a standing ovation to conflict resolution after realizing that my burning desire to not share my trail mix with my hiking partner might have once caused a significant rift in our relationship. These are insight operations worthy of laughter. In the end, the transformative power or reflection is like donning a kaleidoscope. It allows us to observe our lives from multiple angles, and each turn adds a layer of color and complexity. As we tread through time and our unique narratives, reflection serves as our trusty guide, pointing us toward the path that celebrates the absurdities and wonders of existence. So the next time you find a quiet moment to reflect, in the mountains or even your tricked-out living room, take the plunge, engage in the delightful dance with your thoughts and experiences. Who knows what kind of joyful revelations await you on the other side, perhaps even leading to your own fabulously ridiculous moment of enlightenment.